Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Design Perspective. I'm Santi. I'm a senior game designer in the game industry, and let's talk today about game design schools. Before anything, this is my opinion and my opinion alone. I do not represent any of the schools we're going to be talking about, even if I assisted to them. I have not been sponsored or I have not been contacted by any of these schools. That being said, there are some news. I just recently, other than being a senior game designer, I just became a professor in Yorkville University in Toronto. I started teaching game design and game production, and it has been a fantastic experience. Going from school, from student to teacher, is such a rewarding experience, and I really like my students. But that got me thinking about getting into game design schools and how can I use my experience going through these programs to help you find the program that would be best for you. That being said, I will give you 5 questions. You need to answer 5 questions before picking any school or picking any program if you want to get into game development. No matter what branch, if it's art, if it's programming, or if it's design. This is Vancouver Film School. This is what I consider my alma mater. This is where I learn game design. So I'm going to use it as an example because I can vouch for this school. Question number 1. Do they showcase the students' games? You want to make sure that you go to a game design school that actually makes video games or any games. You want them to be accessible. You want them to be showcased. For example, here you have a specialization, but here you have student work. And if you go to this, in this case of Vancouver Film School, they would have something called VFS Arcade. But for example, DigiPen has also access to the students' games. So in here, we can see the students have a bunch of games to showcase. So they are accessible to you, accessible to employers, and accessible to your portfolio. Question number 2 is, what are the sizes of the teams? There are pros and cons. So if we click on any game here, we will find out that the game has a group of students. For example, in this case, this was a solo developer. We know that this game was made by one student. Now, if we go back and we click on another game, we find that this one was made by 6 people, and that's actually the max for VFS. VFS doesn't allow bigger teams. You can have external collaborators, but the main developers have to be 6. That is different to other schools. For example, I went to La Salle, or the Art Institute of Vancouver, back then when I was studying there. There, the teams were around 10 to 15 people, so we're bigger. And in Toronto Film School, the teams are 45 people. So the whole class grade make one game. There's pros and cons of having bigger teams or smaller teams. A smaller team is a smaller scope, but that means that you add more to the game. But that also means that you have to be a little bit more multitasking. So if you want to focus on art, or if you want to focus on game design or level design, it might be a little bit more difficult to make a fully portfolio, like a game that showcases that to its best when there's less people and you have to do project management, or you have to go and do some programming, or you have to grind a little bit to make the game. The scopes tend to be smaller, but at the same time, when the team is small, you tend to contribute a lot more. The bigger the team, the bigger the scope of the game, and the bigger the possibilities of the game. But at the same time, there's more management, and you might not add as much as you want to the game, but that addition is going to be more focused. So there's pros and cons, and it's just a matter of what do you want and what you believe, how do you feel more comfortable with. The third question I want you to ask is, where are they? So this is a little bit of a secret called Game Dev Map. Game Dev Map will tell you all the game studios in the world based by city, country, or state. Every dot in the map is a city that has video game studios in the world. If the school is surrounded by a bunch of studios, that means that it's an easier time for you to find your first job in the game industry. Vancouver, for example, in this case, Vancouver is surrounded by these studios. But when I was graduating in Vancouver Film School, Vancouver was going through a little bit of a shift out of the entertainment business, and a lot of studios closed down. This includes United Front Games. You guys might know them for Sleeping Dogs, or Radical Entertainment, which make Hulk Ultimate Smash, Simpsons Hit and Run. You know, they're like legendary developers. They closed down while I was studying game design. Of course, Vancouver recovered, and there's a bunch of studios, as you guys can see here. So Game Dev Map can give you that information, and you can cross-reference it with the location of the school that you might want to go. The more studios around you, the better chances you have of finding your first job out of school. The next question might be harder to find than people believe, but BFS loves to showcase this, and proudly so. If I was a school, I would also showcase. So the fourth question is, where is the alumni after graduation? So in here, for example, VFS has a showcase that tells you where the students have been. For example, Luigi's Mansion, Halo Infinite, League of Legends over here, Overwatch. Some game design schools might not showcase this in their website, but something you can do is go into LinkedIn. You go into the search bar and you type the name of the school and the program. Originally, at the beginning, LinkedIn will give you the faculty and people working there or people studying at that time. But if you keep scrolling and keep looking a little bit deeper, LinkedIn sooner or later will give you people that studied there, that program. And it will tell you, oh, this person, where is this person? This person is studied here and now is working here. Now it's working here. So I want you to go down that rabbit hole in LinkedIn and you'll see where the alumni is now. And don't just believe what the school is telling you at the time, that it's look, our students are here, because they're telling you usually the 1%. You need more information. And the way you obtain this information is through LinkedIn. I'm going to give you one final question. Who is the faculty? This is the faculty of BFS, which means some of them were my teachers. Here is one of them, Chris Mitchell. Chris Mitchell actually worked at Radical Entertainment. He was an excellent teacher. And now he's the director of the program. I don't think they could have picked a better person, in my opinion. I know they come from the industry. A lot of them came from the industry. I was taught by some people that I was I can't believe you worked in this game. It's funny, this guy, he studied in my same class. Most websites in the school will show you the faculty, will show you who your teachers will be. Those are my 5 questions that I recommend you guys to go through to find your game design school. Do the school showcases the students' games? What are the size of the teams in those students' projects? Where are they located and what are the game studios around it? 4, where is the alumni now? 5, who is the faculty? Who is teaching you? Answer those questions and I'm 100% sure you will find your game design school. That being said, not everybody can go to game design school. You might be in the middle of nowhere, or it might be really difficult, or there might not be remote options. What can you do? The reality is that there's nothing that these schools can teach you that is not on YouTube. We've said this in this channel before. The reason why this game design channel is not exclusively about teaching game design or teaching Unreal or teaching anything technical about game development is because there's a lot of references and a lot of things you can learn. There is so much material out there. There's nothing that you can learn in a school that you cannot learn online, especially YouTube. What matters is when you go into game design school, what your number one thing is your portfolio and your contacts. That's the reality. The reality is that you're paying for those 2 things. If you cannot go to game design school, if you keep these 2 things in mind, you can achieve them without going to game design school. You can always go to the events. You can always have a portfolio. You can always make games on your own. Unreal is free and Unity is free for you to download. Blender is free for you to download. You can make games yourself. There is nothing that these schools teach you that you cannot learn. And now more than ever, there is a way to connect with game developers all over the world. And there's more than ever events where you can assist. If you put a little bit of effort, you can meet and make contacts and showcase your portfolio. Of course, there's a certain reality. Also, there's a certain hit of reality that you guys need to understand, and that is that location matters. If you cannot go to game design school, but you live in Toronto or you live in Montreal or you live in LA, then you have studios to access. You can create a portfolio and you can just go to their events, and sooner or later you'll persevere and go in. If it's a QA, as QA, but you can grow. So there's nothing stopping you except location. I'm sorry to bring a little bit of bad news, but if that's the case, it's a better time than ever to go independent and start trying to showcase your own games to the world. There's nothing stopping you from making games. You want to make AAA games? There's another story there. But there's nothing stopping you from making games, especially nowadays, and especially with the indie market being one of the most healthy markets in the world right now. It's a great industry to be. Video games are probably the most beautiful thing for me in the world. You can do it. You really can. This is the Game Design Perspective. I'm Santi. Have a good one.